Welcome to Embracing Infinity, exploring the infinite oneness in the space of love and truth. Host Jennifer Rose is an international spiritual medium, healer, channeler, mentor, and transformational guide. Her focus is encouraging individuals to know themselves within the lens of their divine heart and highest potential, to evolve within the frequency of love and peaceful harmony. Now, here's your host, Jennifer Rose.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Hello, welcome to Embracing Infinity on the Sacred Spiral Network. Happy Friday, happy Good Friday, and I hope today finds you well. So happy to have my special guest, Suri Sawyer, joining me once again on Embracing Infinity. We've had her on a few more times, and we have a beautiful show planned for you called Die Before You Die, the healing benefits of plants. So we're so excited to be speaking about this today, and she will be joining us live from Costa Rica. So that's quite exciting. I hope you all are doing really, really well today as well. I want to give a quick hello to Miss Evelyn, who's joined us here today. Hello, Evelyn Chesum. How are you doing today, darling? And hello, Michael Christopher. Good afternoon to you too. Michael Christopher has a show on today too with Jennifer Lee, Spiritually Imperfect. I believe that's at 5 p.m. Is that right, Christopher? Michael, sorry about that, everybody, too. I also want to say hi to Kim Princess, who's joining us, and Miss Jennifer McCormick. Happy Good Friday to you, too. I hope you are doing well. We are also streaming on the online live psychic readings page with Miss Veronica Jenkins. We want to give a shout out to her. Thank you for allowing us to stream on your page. And thank you to Miss Kelly Brickle, our producer, for taking good care of us today. Tomorrow, real quick announcement. I know we're heading into a holiday weekend, a lot of beautiful and sacred energy with that as well. I would like to also announce that tomorrow we have our Messages from the Enchanted Realms, which is co-hosted with Miss Shannon Rattay and Miss Fran Pierce. That'll be tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Pacific and 10:30 p.m. in the UK. Thank you, Michael Christopher. He's going to be on his show at 5 p.m. Pacific today, 7 Central, and that'll be at 1 a.m. in the UK Saturday morning for those ones who like to stay up late. Okay, so please join us tomorrow for Messages from the Enchanted Realms. And this is where we connect with the other realms of spirit. I like to think of spirit as a beautiful rainbow. With the fairy realms, the angelic realms, nature spirits, and so forth. We have a lot of fun, so we hope that you will join us for that too. It's a very uplifting experience too. And my StreamYard is telling me one of my pages isn't working, so we'll see if we can get that fixed. But I also want to say hi to Stephen Blevins. How are you today? Good to see you. Hello, Paula Marie. Hello to Jack Handel. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. And Miss Kristen, how are you? Good to see you as well. Thanks for joining us too. Mandy Mills has come on too. There we go. Hello. Okay, great to see you all, everybody. Now, my good friends. Oh, hello, Gina. Good to see you. As we head into this weekend, there's a lot of really just kind of like beautiful, transformative energy. It's a lot of people would like to call this Holy Week because we have a lot of beautiful holidays that are a container of rebirth and transformation, helping us to continue to elevate, helping us to continue to become more. I always like to say we become more, not less. We become more of who we are, not just who we really are, but more of who we really are. Always adding more facets of self and watching them all transform. So, this is a beautiful time for our show topic today and a time for us all to just take a moment to find the gratitude and appreciation for our spirituality, for all of the changes that we have navigated through and come out of in a more beautiful way than we felt we were to be before. This is a continual unfolding process. And after a while, we really start to get the hang of it. It gets a little bit easier. It gets a little bit more understandable. And I hope that with each step of the way, you are all finding this out for yourselves too. Hello, Jeffrey. Thank you for joining us. So it's a beautiful day, and I am now going to welcome our beautiful guest, Miss Suri Sawyer. Come on, Suri. Let's see you.
Thank you for having
Hello,
me.
Angel. Hi. Thanks so much for being here today.
It's
How
an
are you
honor.
doing, love?
I'm doing very well. I'm having a little bit of nerves, um, relying on my ability to stream my own consciousness through in a clear way. And incredibly honored to be here and to bring forward these topics that we're talking about. And like you were saying earlier, this week seems particularly a potent time for this kind of topic of die before you die, because we're coming up
Hmm.
on a holiday that is really marked by this concept of resurrection.
Exactly, exactly. So it worked out quite perfectly, didn't it? To, you have a lot of friends who are excited to see you here today. I also want to say hi to Vicky and Crystal, Caroline, and Mr. Ed Odell. Tips top hat to you, who have joined us as well too. Suri, I'm going to read to everybody a little bit more about you. You're a good friend of mine and one of the most beautiful healers I've ever met. So I'm so happy that we're all getting to know you once again. Some of people are new for you here, but some people have gotten to see you here before and just loved everything that you've had to share up until now. We've had some great topics before. So, everybody, our beautiful Suri is a gifted psychic healer, Reiki practitioner, and teacher with a focus on ancestral healing and death-wise consciousness. The foundation of her practice is based in the seven universal laws. Motivated by a profound passion to support and individuals to rediscover their inner essence and achieve healing on multiple levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Suri channels her abilities and knowledge through energy healing sessions, spiritual alchemy journeys, and immersive sound and sacred plant medicine ceremonies. That's a lot, Suri.
It's a lot.
You really are a beautiful healer, and your ability to I've seen a lot of healers, and but you do seem to specialize in a certain way of being able to kind of like move into the psychic realm, to kind of pinpoint certain issues and certain themes that people are working through in their psyche that they're trying to transform and integrate.
Thank you so much for that compliment. Um, I find in the way the healing world, I loved that Michael, I think his show was Spiritually Imperfect. I
Hmm.
love this concept.
Yes.
I love this concept so much, because oftentimes I perceive that what prevents us from being able to really heal is having this tendency toward it's all love and light, it's all love and light, it's all love and light, which causes our shadow to get really big and then come out of the side out in front of us where we're actually seeing it, but we don't think it's us, right? And so it's a really beautiful thing for me to learn to walk in the dark, and realize that the dark is the same thing as the light, and there's joy and love and goodness in there, and there's nothing to fear about it. In fact, the more that we can embrace what oftentimes is considered dark, it brings a greater appreciation of the light, and we can come into the light in a greater authenticity. And oftentimes the light is there so that we can illuminate what's been in the shadow. But if you never turn toward what's in the shadow, how would you ever bring the light to it? So, being willing and open to, and even embracing topics and conversations and aspects of ourselves that sometimes we're afraid of. For example, like death and dying. It's a conversation that we can maybe have here in a lighthearted way. And if you sat down with a loved one and you're like, hey, let's talk about death, you can feel how quickly the relationship to that concept changes into something that brings up the fear and the panic and the denial.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So God, I could just unpack all that in the next hour or two, but I know we have so many things to get to too. But you're so right, because I know was it Freud or was it Jung who said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate and you will blame it on fate, right? And as I like to say, what you run from is gonna chase you. So you can't escape
Absolutely. What you resist, it persists. I
it.
super love that you just asked, was it me or was it Freud? I
No,
like that
was
I've
it was
gotten.
it Young? No, was it Young? Was
Oh,
it
I
Jung,
was
Carl
like,
Jung, or what? I think it was Carl Jung who said it, right?
uh-huh.
It was
Yeah.
Carl Jung who said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate." Yeah,
Yes,
correct. And it
absolutely. Absolutely.
just hits you right there.
It does.
Okay. But yeah, I always like you say what you resist persists and what you run from will chase you. So it's like, and there's all the treasures in the dark too, all of the good things about yourself that are kind of hidden away that you're afraid to show about yourself, your talents and your brightness and your confidence, all of that can get kind of like buried in there, and it's just saying, see me, let me
See me,
out.
see me, see me.
And love is the key, right? Learning to
Yeah.
love everything is the key. So thank you so much
I
for
want to
sharing
comment on
that.
Michael Christopher's comment. He said, the last taboo. And now I just need to know, you've read Osho, yeah? You have to have had read Osho.
Most likely, yeah. Death less taboo. I love that. I love that. I want to say hi to Colin too, and everybody else who's joined us. Thank you for being here today. Hello, hello. Okay, Miss Suri. I want to try not to get, I could go into many different directions with you, so I'm going to try to get focused. So let's talk about plant medicine too. So in
Okay.
Costa Rica, this is one of your healing practices that you work with your clients.
Yes. Yeah. So for myself, there's innumerable kinds of plant medicines, right? And what I will focus on today as we speak is two different forms of medicine, or two different plants, which is mushrooms, which is technically mycelium, and a medicine called jurema, which comes from the Mimosa hostilis tree, this very beautiful tree that grows all over southern United States down into Central America and into Brazil. And it's the bark of the tree that has a very high amount of NN-DMT in it. So these are the two medicines that I'll specifically be speaking about today. And as we're the purpose of, and the die before you die and plant medicine, they kind of go together in a really beautiful way. So in peak or deep plant medicine experiences, oftentimes what occurs is a complete bypassing of your ego. So the plant medicine essentially says, sorry, you have no control right now. And the ego falls way back and it's not able to run a lot of the protective defensive mechanisms that it does most of the time. So you can actually access information about yourself, things that need to be healed in your shadow, as well as incredible gifts that you've shoved back there for whatever reason. And your ego can't get in there to be like, hey, you're not supposed to look at that. And so it can bring about a very deep healing. And in some context, these plants can bring about an ego death. So and in experiences that I have had and others have had, in the moment when the ego death is occurring on plant medicine, there is nothing in you that knows you're not actually going to die. And the first time that it happened for me, I was like, sorry, mom and dad. Like, sorry, you're going to have to find out about this. And like that I died on the floor in a kitchen in Costa Rica, um, and what has been amazing, the process, it's like a portal. It's going through like the eye of the needle because your ego really believes that it's you. And when the ego's dying off, all these alarm bells are going off. But it creates this real sensation of, okay, what has in my life actually been important to me? What's not important? In this moment when I feel like I'm going to die, who are the people that I need to call and tell them that I love them? What trespasses now seem really ridiculous. And I have nothing but forgiveness for that moment, because in my death, that actually has no weight or credence here. And it can give us this kind of really strong and powerful realignment. The other very beautiful thing is once you go through that eye of the needle, when you go on the other side, it is this expansive experience of, in a gnosis kind of way, being one with everything. And that's a sensation I know all of us have heard. Maybe some of us have actually had a gnosis experience of it. Maybe some of us desire to have a gnosis of, yes, I like the idea and I meditate on feeling like I'm one with everything, but I've never literally melted into it to the point where I looked over at a rock and I thought, is that me? Yeah, it's got to be, because I'm everything. And in that state, like Rumi talks about it, the out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. That's the field. And so when the soul lays down in that grass, there's nothing left to talk about. And it's in that field where there's incredible opportunity for healing that is almost impossible to get when your ego's still playing with you.
Thank you. That's a really good explanation. And um, I've I've been in many, dark nights of the souls and my own transformation, and I know that feeling when you feel like you're dying, because that's what it does feel like when even because we can reach these states through like meditation practices and
Mhm.
things too, but the plant medicine I think is kind of works a little bit faster than like long-term therapy or lots of meditation. You get kind of zero in there right away if I'm correct, right? But I know
Mhm.
what that feeling is like. I've experienced both the feeling like I'm dying, and it's like I can't even describe it because I'm not in it right now. But when I felt like it before, you feel like you're dying. And it's like and then I can't go back to that feeling because it was before. But I've also experienced in meditation that feeling of incredible oneness as well, where you're so into that beyond space that you're totally okay to lose yourself in it, lose all of your identity, and just become one with that divine love that you immerse yourself into. So it's
Mhm.
incredible to experience these different things as we're being human here and like moving into these space too. So um now these beautiful plants that you work with this tree, and is the tree similar to ayahuasca, which is what a lot of people are familiar with? Is that the same ingredient what you were describing?
Yes. And then DMT is also what's in the medicine of ayahuasca. And NN-DMT is also naturally occurring in our bodies. It's most high in our system at birth, giving birth, and during death. When we meditate or do breath work or yoga, we're actually increasing our levels of DMT. And it's one of the reasons that we'll see colors or have visions and visuals. It's because of the presence of DMT. So, with DMT in particular, you can access it naturally and on purpose. Also, if you have vivid dreams, it's because of DMT, right? So, it's something that we all already know, and we don't actually need to take or know the plant to be able to access the molecule NN-DMT. And NN-DMT is in pretty much every single plant, but not at high enough levels that you would have a psychedelic experience. But it's in everything. And there's a theory that either reality is real or it's not. And we're all tripping on NN-DMT.
Don't get me started on reality, Suri.
Okay, we'll save that for another episode.
I know, right? Oh, you're like that. It's like a ding, 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 ding. So, there is a Netflix series that's out right now too called How to Change Your Mind, and it's all
Uh-huh.
about. And there is an episode on different kinds of plants. There's one on LSD, there's one on DMT, there's one on psilocybin, and then they've got mescal. Is it
Mescaline.
mescaline too, for like, which is kind of the Native Americans are trying to hold that into their space over there too. um I found it incredibly enlightening and literally mind changing, because I grew up in that era where it really was the war on drugs, and they were telling all of us this stuff was bad, even though they had many years of really solid scientific data that these plants were healing people. They were healing them from trauma and from PTSD and helping them to live better lives, and also helping them to, which we can segue into next, helping them to um, move through like terminal illness before they're passing, so they can kind of make peace with themselves, before they transition into that, and all of these benefits. And it was a total like mind change for me, because I didn't know a lot of these things before. And there was a gentleman who came on in one of the episodes, and he said, they told us there was good drugs and they told us there was bad drugs. And he's like, the bad drugs have created an opioid epidemic, a crisis of addiction, and the good drugs actually heal people. And I looked at him, and intuitively I was like, this man knows what he's talking about too. So it really was eye-opening for me. So could you share more about these, the healing benefits of the
Yeah,
different plants that you work with, and the spirit of them too, because they have a spirit.
they do have spirits, and that's something that I've really enjoyed in my studies is getting to meet and greet these different spirits. And it's also why I've chosen specific medicines to work with, because all the spirits are really beautiful, and each one of us as individual people, it's kind of like meeting an old friend, right? You're like, whoa, okay, like we're in sync somehow. So Jurema and psilocybin are two that I feel for myself personally, I connect deeply with the spirits of them. One thing before we move on that I'd love to bring forward for all that are listening is this concept of our vernacular around plants. And as quickly as we can, getting away from using the words drugs and high, because those usually are associated and have negative connotations. And so the more that we can get into this concept of like, hey, I'm going to commune with a plant. We also, when we're using those vernaculars, it's less likely that people will have a social desire to do them the way that sometimes drugs are used. Because I perceive for myself that these plants are not necessarily like, I don't perceive it's a healthy idea to go to a huge party and have everyone on these medicines and have their auras like wide open, because oftentimes people are unaware of what they're exchanging. And this is why I prefer offering ceremony and holding a safe container so that somebody can be open and their only responsibility is to be with what is happening for them. So there's that. And then the spirits of the medicine. Okay, so ayahuasca is often considered the grandmother, and she's like very, authoritative, and she's like, nope, we're going to learn this lesson right now. And for some people, she takes you all the way into the depths of hell so you can face the shadow stuff and come out on the other side with wings, and Jurema to me feels like your cool aunt. Like she's softer, she's gentle, and in my experience of her, she's a great teacher. The very first time that I sat with her, and the kind that I serve is a smokable kind, so it metabolizes in only 15 to 30 minutes. So your experience is deep but short. And for this reason, I think it's a good medicine for people who are just getting introduced, so they don't have to spend 5 hours the first time that they're meeting a psychedelic experience. So the first time that I sat with Jurema, she came in and she was like, hey, can I show you a little bit about your own energetics and why you struggle to have healthy relationships with women? And I was like, please. And it was as if I was having a telepathic conversation with the spirit of the medicine. And kind of like a cool aunt, she was like, well, when you get approached, you have this energy that comes forward. And this is what the energy feels like. And then this is how often people are responding to it. So what if you, and then she showed me a new feeling. What if you approached like this? And it felt like something popped in my psyche, like an awareness popped in my psyche of something that I couldn't learn, like I could have learned on my own for sure, but it brought an accelerated understanding of how to feel a lot more safe and comfortable in the presence of other women. And it was interesting because in the next weeks after that ceremony, my relationship to the women around me, friends and lovers, and my sister and my mom, started rapidly changing. And some friends completely left my life within like 6 weeks after this ceremony, while other ones were coming in closer at a rapid pace. And it changed the way I relate to women and how safe I feel being vulnerable with women. And it was a beautiful lesson. Yeah. So that's the spirit of Jurema. Ayahuasca definitely is not for most people. And I want to also speak about that maybe after I speak about the spirit of psilocybin, that plant medicines are not for everyone. And really, we should go to them only if we genuinely feel a call. And if there's no call, you probably don't need it. And also, if you are drawn to plant medicine, make sure you find a practitioner who's going to go over your background with you. And make sure that you're actually a good candidate to go into it, because there can be some really negative side effects. I love this concept that plant medicine really expands you. But if you come in out of balance and you expand out of balance. So it isn't for everyone, and there are some cautions. So, but I thank you for that comment. Jennifer Rose, do you have any questions before I talk about the spirit of psilocybin?
No, that was very beautifully and articulately demonstrated with that too. And um, I like the idea of having a facilitator, because I know ayahuasca, there was a big kind of everyone wanted to get on the bandwagon, and then was flying down to South America to have these experiences, and then not everybody was properly taken care of or doing it properly too. So that's an issue. So I'm glad that we got to bring that up as well too. And but that's not the one that you mainly work with. It's the other two that you like to
Correct.
use, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
I've done ayahuasca many times. And that is a beautiful medicine. And also, like, it's such a strong one. I feel like if you're going to come to that medicine, you probably only need to greet her like once or twice in your life, if that's something that you're feeling called to. It doesn't need to be like a lifelong thing. Um, and okay, so the spirit of psilocybin. I love psilocybin. Their nickname is called the children. And
So you got
like,
the grandma, the aunt, and the kids. Okay.
uh-huh.
It's a whole
And
family.
everybody's here. And mescaline is usually considered more masculine and would fall under the category of the grandfather.
Okay.
So psilocybin, the children. So when you're on psilocybin, and I'm not going to go in depth about it because there's so much research, everyone can do it on their own, but it opens up the synapses in your brain. It starts connecting things that maybe have been shut off. And it also starts to run your electrical circuits in your nervous system. So everything's connecting and your electrical system is like on. So when we get scared or traumatized or are having anxiety, the ends of our nerves start to curl in like this. And we can live our whole lives with our nerves curled up. And that leaves us in a place where we're not conducting our electricity in its fullness that we could. And also, ideas aren't connecting the way that we would want them to. And it's also one of the functionings behind repressed memories and emotions, because it's all curled up like this. So when you're on psilocybin, it's like, hey, let's open it and uncurl these things, and let's have you feel your feelings. Let's connect you to you. What do you feel like when all your circuits are running? And oftentimes it's described as like accessing like a 5D consciousness, because your electrical system is on, the neurons are connecting, the left and right hemisphere of your brain are communicating in a way that they don't aren't usually, we're not able to access without a lot of practice and meditation. So, and also what I find to be so beautiful about psilocybin is it really does bring out the child. In the ceremonies that I do around psilocybin, because of my history as a preschool teacher, I'm like, let's play. Because healing isn't just about going into the darkness and drumming up the stuff. Sometimes it's about remembering how good you can feel, feeling that state, and letting the rest drop away. So
Yeah.
let's play.
Rediscovering your joy, rediscovering your childlike spirit,
Yeah.
bringing him and her back up into the scene, you know? And it's like, I really like what you said there, Siri, because I think, because you talk about, especially with the nerves there too, because it kind of softens up the blow of, because we're like, oh, we've got to do the shadow work, we've got all this suppressed and repressed stuff. How am I going to access it? What am I going to do? I've got to do all this, right? Like, and you're also explaining, like, this is not everybody's fault. Like, we have help. There's also a physiological component of this too that we can address, that will help to kind of get things back online again. So it's like you're facilitating, you're helping, you're adding to make this process not so, I'm going to say, arduous or difficult or long. You know, it's like we don't want to spend our whole life trying to get there. We can have a little bit of help. And I would wonder, maybe Mother Earth designed it that way by providing some of these plants for people. Maybe it was designed that way to give us
Uh-huh.
assistance.
I think I really do
Yeah.
believe that all of the plants. Okay, so here's a wild idea. I really do perceive that all of the plants here exist because at one point the earth felt the indication that some sort of thing was needed for the other living beings on the planet. And this is a sad example, but a really good example. In Indonesia, a while back, there was a terrible tragedy, and many children were tortured and killed and buried. And about 35 years later, where these children were buried, this plant started growing out of the ground. And they found that it supported children who had night terrors to stop having night terrors. So the earth read the codes. The earth was like, wow, this is a lot of fear that children had had. Here's a plant that is a remedy.
I got chills with that. I got big chills with that too. That just, oh my gosh. I wish more people would know about these things. So at least we're getting to spread some light, and some wisdom and knowledge to people here, that there are options that they have too. And Colin's on here today. He's another friend of mine. He always talks about tripping the light fantastic. So I think by getting all those neurons like rewired, and we'll start tripping the light fantastic together too. One thing that in conversation that we had had previous before the show, Suri, you also talked about how we can kind of rewire patterns. And because a lot of people psychologically and emotionally keep looping the same experiences. And so they keep unconsciously creating the same external experiences because these patterns are so kind of like deeply grooved into the psyche. And even if we want to change these patterns, it seems to be really, really hard. And so what you were explaining is something about how the medicine kind of smooths these grooves out. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I like to think about like a repetitive pattern, like a thought, for example. If we think the same thought over and over and over, it starts to create a really deep groove in our brain. And that neural pathway is used so much, it would be as if we were on a desert plain and water started to go down, and where the water repeats itself starts to groove, 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 like the Grand Canyon, right? And imagine that we gave psilocybin to the Grand Canyon, all of a sudden it would go whoop and pop back up, leaving you with this opportunity to create a new groove. And this is also why preparation before psychedelics and also integration after psychedelics, because your brain comes into this neuroplasticity. You get to be like a child again, and you have neuroplasticity. And it's an incredible time to rewrite your thought patterns and your behaviors, and even like your go-to feelings. You know how like we all have a feeling that we're like, oh, I know this one. I greet this every Sunday, you know? So when we do the medicine, it pops the grooves up. We have this sensitive time where we're neuroplastic again. And we need to then be consistent and repetitive about bringing forward the habits, thoughts, beliefs, emotions, feelings, and habits that we want to create the new groove.
Yeah, I think that's really important because that's a big deal, creating new patterns and helping to kind of like let go of some of the old one. Because that's just what I see a lot. And people keep wondering, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep showing up? And it's like, then it becomes kind of an inside job because we can't change the external reality without focusing on the internal one. So I love that you're offering ways to do that that are safe, that are effective, that are reasonably quick compared to other methods, which may take a long period of time, that will have lasting results and help people to like live their best life, because we're all about like living your best life, like not just living, but thriving, and isn't that what everybody wants?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I want to say hi to everybody who's joined us. Thank you for being here
Let's do
too.
it.
And if you wouldn't mind hearting our little post and commenting, tagging, subscribing. And I apologize. I believe we're only on one of my pages. I'm not sure what happened there too. So if you could all help share it out so that more people can be seeing this, I'd really appreciate it. Tag your friends if you think they might be interested too. And we can also watch the replay too. Moving forward, Suri, how do you use this to help with like grief and terminal illness? Because that's another one of the benefits.
Thank you for asking. So this has been a passion of mine. I know on previous episodes we shared a little bit. I'm a studied death doula, and I've spent a lot of time mostly working with the loved ones left behind after loss. And so there's a couple of things that can take place with psilocybin. So, or Jurema. And this is, let's say that you get a diagnosis, it's terminal. There's a lot of fear and anxiety that comes with that. A plant medicine journey can essentially help you process the reality of what you're facing and bring forward like acceptance so that you get to come into that concept. I died before I died, and now I know there's nothing to fear. And so that's one of the ways that it can be used. Of course, you can never predict what kind of experience someone will have on the medicine. However, with the weight and severity of something like now knowing that your death is like you can kind of put a timeline on the rest of your life, coming to plant medicine is a really powerful and positive way to help you orient all that comes with that information, the confusion, the fear, the potentially denial, the sadness, the grief. So it can be used for people in that experience. And again, like bring the neural pathways into orientation so that you can move through the process of living the rest of your life with some relative joy and acceptance, and potentially even like, I might be kind of excited about this. And then also with the loss of loved ones, it's the same thing. It can help us in a rapid way be able to process grief. And it doesn't happen for everyone, but it does happen for many. And it's something that I experience, but on plant medicine, also off plant medicine, but on plant medicine, your ancestors are so visible to you. In a ceremony, for me, it's like every person that's sitting in the ceremony, their ancestors are all lined up behind them. And part of this, it seems to me, is that whatever that person is there to process and work through, a lot of the times it's ancestral. So this pattern that you've been playing out over and over and over, your mom had that pattern, her mom had that pattern, her mom's mom had that pattern. And they all line up behind you and they're like, we know you're going to break it right now. And we're all here to receive the medicine of that and support you to do it. So like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. So there's a lot of ancestral healing that can happen in that place. And with the loss of a loved one, it can, because you're going into that sensation of one with everything, it can help you access and really have gnosis that they may be physically gone, but they're all around you all the time and they couldn't possibly actually ever be gone. And getting to touch that feeling can really support and help the grief process.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, and I know we've got a lot of mediums here that are joining us as well too. So we know very well what that's like. That's we deal with that every day because people come to us wanting to connect with their loved ones and they're grieving and it's like we hold the space for them as you do too and it's nice to know that there's help. There's help for that
Mhm.
too. Thank you all for sharing too. I really appreciate it. Big hugs to all of you from me. Lots of love too. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's helping everything that Suri's got going on to help people with get reach more people. So we really appreciate it. Courtney's saying they need the most help. America does not treat death as we should. Yeah, it's there's so much sacredness to everything you're talking about. There's sacredness to the medicines, to the plants, and you have such respect. So that's one thing I love about you is you do everything in such a sacred and respectful manner too, and the sacredness of grief, the sacredness of those who are nearing their end time here as a physical human, you know, moving into back into spiritual consciousness as well too. And it's like, so it's nice to be able to be in this container where we can just kind of like honor that together, and that this is hard, but there is ways that we can make this better, make this a little bit easier. And the concept of like the ceremony and the ritual is very healing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I also really, with we don't need to go into it because I know that would be a really big topic, but with the state of the world and a lot of the
Yeah,
discord and the polarization between us as humans,
yeah.
um, traditionally, a lot of plant medicine was used to resolve discord in society. Um, and there's like so many stories of this happening, but in indigenous cultures, if there was starting to be like a lot of bickering or disagreements, they would call everybody together and they'd be like, it's time for us to sit down and do medicine and get over whatever this is that our collective is sick with.
Okay.
Um, and in Rome, they had this festival, Elysium. I believe that's what it was called. And it was once a year, and they would have everybody come do something that was equivalent to LSD. And it was like a social reset so that people could get along and have compassion for each other. And it was free. They wanted everyone to come and do the psychedelic together so that the society itself could be a ship that actually sailed, didn't sink. So I think also psilocybin and jurema and some all the plant medicines can also be used for our collective healing. And one of my favorite ways to sit in ceremony is with other practiced medicine people with an intention and a strong prayer for the collective. So, yes, I'm healing for me, but right now, actually, this prayer is for my brothers and sisters. This prayer is for me and the next 7 generations, so that not just this generation can thrive, but the next 7 generations can thrive. This prayer is for me, but it's also for the water, so that everyone has clean water. And it's amazing to come into that space, dissolve the ego, and pray a strong prayer for our collective.
It makes me think of like what's possible, you know,
Yeah.
like what is possible, like the things that we're all dreaming of doing, like what is possible. And so, like, that gives me hope, you know, like there's a lot of hope there too. So, a lot of positivity and a hope too. Um, One of the things we also spoke about too before we came onto the show was the concept. I'm going to kind of go a little bit back to the die before you die and the dying a thousand deaths.
Uh-huh.
let's
Let's go
let's talk
there.
about that. Hi, Colin. Colin says the light is bringing the collective together now. I love that. I love that. Thank you, Colin. We're tripping the light fantastic together, my friend. So, what does it mean to die a thousand deaths?
Yes. In this reference, it's referring, I believe, more to the ego than our physical bodies. Um, and throughout our life experience, We really do have so many deaths. And another way to look at these ego deaths could also be called initiation. And it's when something has happened in your life that has ruptured what you've known up to that point so much that there is absolutely no going back. And one of the first and most predominant deaths that we experience is when we go through puberty, and there's an incredible loss of innocence. And it's not something that I think in our modern culture is honored the way that it should be honored. Because when you start your pubescent experience, there's a loss of innocence and there's this confusion and there's like, I'm grown up, but I still want my mom to pick me up and hold me, but apparently I'm too big and I can't go back. I'm never going to get small enough to be picked up and held again. So puberty requires that you die, and all of the things from your childhood start falling off rapidly, and there is no going back. And with the aspects of your ego that identified with your likes and your dislikes before puberty, that's all changing. And after it crumbles, there's a building or a resurrection of you. It's all the same life force, but the furniture of your psyche has to rearrange to now match the reality of you. Other deaths that we experience that are really prominent would be things like breakups or divorces. If you've thought to yourself, I'm a wife, and then you get divorced, the part of your ego that said you were a wife, she died. If you grew up in Southern California and you considered yourself a Southern California native for all of your life, and then you moved to Costa Rica, so much of me died when I got here. And it was painful, but it was good, right? And changes of a career, change of a location, change of a relationship, really anything that you could at some point identify yourself with, the moment that changes, it causes a death. And we as people, it's my observation, including for myself, that our attachment to some of these things prevents us from being able to die with grace. And we try to fight and we hold on and we're like, no. I always want to be a daughter. But the reality is, I won't always be a daughter. At some point, I will need to die to being a daughter. And that's terrifying. And it's true. And so we have all these mini deaths throughout life. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. And sometimes we resist a death that needs to happen. There's also something called a done part. And I wonder if anybody watching or listening can really resonate with this, that if anyone's hit a point in their life when they're like, okay, like suicidal ideation, like, I just want to die. Like, I'm done. I just want to die. What I would say is that that's not you, but there is an aspect of your ego that does need to die. And it's literally screaming to be put out of its misery. And so what will it take for you to identify the part of you that is absolutely done existing because that ego function doesn't serve you any longer whatsoever? And then have a ceremony for it. I do that all the time where I'm like, oh, this part of me that always felt like it was a little girl who couldn't grow up into being a woman, who wants to go with me to the river and bury her?
Oh my. Michael Christopher saying he was going through kidney failure, so he's experiences that death too. I think I've died a lot more than 1,000 times. I've been through so much transformation. All of your belief systems, all of who you thought you once were, all of the different roles you play. People who go through spiritual awakening, especially if they've gone through into a kundalini awakening too, it's like your whole life is going to get rearranged on the inside and the outside, and it's just one death after another. I imagine, Siri, and I don't want to get off on a tangent on this too, but I imagine every time we switch, into a different mode, as soon as we get off of the show, we'll be in a different space, and so that kind of like old version of us is not quite the same anymore. We'll never be that person quite again because now we're in this space and we're constantly shifting parts of and so it's like the more we flow with every shift, um, but is it truly dead, or is it just kind of like reintegrated as kind of back into the wholeness, is kind of what I was just came to my mind, because I feel like it's kind of coming back into wholeness, but that part is no longer separate from you anymore, kind of like in that space of like, we need to come back, we need to come home.
Yes, I perceive that to be an like that to be accurate. So if we like as we take our energy, our life force, and we build a construction out of it, right? So we build a construction that says, I'm a teacher. I taught preschool for a really long time, and when I died to that one was really hard for me. But okay, so I created this structure of an identity that says I'm a preschool teacher, and these are my qualities, these are my tendencies, this is what I do with my time, this is how I spend my days, these are my passions, right? And so my energy was giving life force to this structure. And so when the death is occurring, the structure is crumbling, but the life force is yours always. And as the death occurs, it comes back to you as potential energy. And that's what also creates the liminal space, or like a season of winter, when an ego construction has come to a crumble and that energy returns to you as potential energy. It's usually a really good idea to like take a nap before you decide what to build next.
I've experienced that many times where I've been in a transformation, and I've felt that part, like you said, the structure is the structure, so that's easily let go of if we think of it that way too. But you feel like it's almost like a burst of energy that flows through you when that part of you is no longer being has that kind of energetic pull or gravitational thing to it too. And it's like I've literally felt it like burst inside me. And then what happens is I'd be kind of like very shiny for like a couple of weeks, a few days, a few weeks, a few months. I would miss it when it would kind of dissipate, and then it was like kind of grounding back into this reality again. But people would notice it too. They'd be, what is that about you? Like, because that was the energy that you speak of too.
Mhm.
Um, Colin has a great question, Suri. Do you believe that only certain parts of the ego or all of the ego has to die?
Thank you, Colin. It's so interesting because even using the word ego can get messy, because it seems to me that everyone has a different relationship to what that even means. And I would say that I'm not the authority to be able to answer that, but I'll give you this answer. Since for me, I was born a blonde haired white woman. And those are aspects of my ego. Of course, I'm going to age. My hair may turn white, and so I'll need to change with those changes of aging. But there are certain aspects of my ego, like my eye color, for example, and the shape of my face. There's just different things that are going to be intact no matter what you do. And I like to look at that a little bit like when we come into this human experience, we get cast into roles. And like, I'm never going to dissolve my ego enough that I believe I'm a strong, powerful Black man, if that makes any sense. So I do perceive that there are aspects of our ego that are underlying, foundational, and very important actually to us being able to create anything on top of those foundational ego aspects. I also don't perceive that it's a very good idea or a healthy idea to go in and try to blast your ego out of the water, because that often leaves people with no sense of self. And that's the basis for a lot of mental health imbalances, is no core self. And I personally love the ego. I think it's so fun. It's an art project, right? It's like, who do I want to be? I have all this life force and I'm living this life here on the planet. What's my favorite color? That's part of my ego. And I get to play around with that. What's my favorite meal? I can decide that right now it's hamburgers and maybe next week it's going to be fish and chips.
I'm the same. I know that a lot of parts of me, I know they're not real. I know they're illusions, and I'm not going to take these things. I'm probably not going to take my love of the color pink with me off into spirit world. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying and I'm just loving the color pink, even though it's technically like it's an illusion. But I don't care. Having fun
Yes.
with the color pink. Do
I
you?
perceive we should
So
have fun with it. I think like
yeah.
having an ego is just like this art project that we get to use. And like,
Yeah.
my ego is this canvas that I get to paint. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, and it can be a healthy one too. It can be a healthy one that demonstrates kindness and respect and integrity. And I mean, a healthy ego, we're going to brush our teeth every night before we go to bed. That's a healthy ego, right? And things like
Mhm.
that of like taking care of our person, taking care of our body, taking care of our mind, too. I mean, Colin's always saying protect your mind. So I can imagine that could be the function of having a healthy ego is I'm going to take care of my mind and keep it strong and keep it in a way that functions well in this external reality, which is not that easy to be
Yeah.
a lot of times too.
And
Hi,
coming back,
Melinda. Hi, Ronnie.
and by the way, my birth name is Melinda Ann. That's so funny. Hi,
I
Melinda
how about
Ann.
that? How about that too? And
Yeah,
I want to give
young.
Kelly, thank you for helping me get my page reconnected too, by the way. I think we got that going finally. So I'm very happy about that too. Yeah, Jennifer talks about, okay, when her twin flame passed, she felt that death too, because she's no longer who she is anymore. In the midst of the transformation, she lost her faith in 2006 when the reality hit that her sons also have lifelong disabilities. And she had an NDE in 2004. It's been a roller coaster the past 23 years and has never wanted to give up. I'm too stubborn for that. Well, I'm happy you're here, Jennifer. I'm happy you never gave up. So that's my girl.
Thank you, Jennifer McCormick.
Resilience too. So too. Okay, so we did talk about why a facilitator is good versus self-use, but could you expand on that a little bit more? Because I think it would be some people would just think, oh, I'm just going to go find like a little underground place and get me a little something real quick and then go home and do it. And then I know sometimes people may just search around for the quickest and easiest thing too. So if you could talk a little bit more about that and like what is the process like when you facilitate a ceremony for a person or a group, like how do you hold space for them, how do you take care of them?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Um, I would say if you've never done psychedelics before, for your first couple of times, I feel it would be wise to go in with someone because you never know what kind of reaction you're going to have. Um, and with the facilitation, it's a ceremony, right? So we come in, we have a period of reverence. We set intentions and we set the space. We honor the earth. We call on the earth to support us. We honor water and we call on water to support us. We honor fire of transformation to come in and support us. So while we're doing this, we're actually holding rocks and setting intentions into the rocks and honoring earth. And then for water, we take the water, hold it to our hearts, and ask the water essentially to act as a memory system, an external memory system of our experience. And we leave it on the altar and we drink it when we're done and honoring the beauty of water. Then we light some candles and honor the guiding light and transformation and warmth. And then we honor air. And the way that I do that is a little bit of breathing, holding the breath in your lungs. And while it's in your lungs, you talk to it and code it and then share it with the room. And then you do that a couple of times. And then we honor sacred ether, which is so intangible and abstract that it's just like prayer, singing, and honoring ether, the fabric that's holding all things together. And then we call in the four directions and create the four directions creates a circle around us. Then we call on earth to create a sphere below us, a half a sphere, Father, Son, and Star Nations to create half a sphere above us. And we ask all of the directions, the elements, the earth, and the sun to see us as this center point of sacred space. And that the sphere that we're sitting in vibrates at the frequency of love or above. And anything that doesn't resonate, that vibrates lower than that, must stand outside of our sacred sphere. So that is how we open. And then we take the medicine. So if it's Jurema that I'm giving, either I will play music or other musicians come to support me, or I play music on a speaker. But the medicine is served. And then usually right when it hits you, you just need to like lay down and go in. And while you're in there, it's so beautiful because your ego's out of the way. So things in your body start purging, like there's been this blockage in your heart, like all of a sudden it's like, and it's getting out. So I usually will do energy work and use like sage and copal and palo santo and even shakers and drums to support and facilitate anything that your body's in the process of purging at that time. And then with psilocybin, it's a many hours long journey. So the way that I typically hold that container, it's the same thing. We open it with sacred space. And then I have art supplies out, for example. So there'll be art supplies. There's like, sometimes I'll get like Play-Doh, things to touch, things to feel and experience. And also a way for people to be able to go outside and be in nature. And honestly, I run a psilocybin ceremony a little bit like I ran a preschool classroom. And I'm holding the space and I'm there and you're safe and you're protected. And I'm actually going to follow your lead on it. So like, if you just want to lay down and feel the feelings and have music played for you, that's what we'll do. If you feel this wild hair and you're like, I need to draw a picture, then here's all the art supplies. Enjoy yourself. I want to touch the Play-Doh, or I want to go outside and smell the fresh air and look at a flower. My role is to take care of the entire environment around you so that you have nothing to do or worry about. And then when the medicine has concluded, we are all just kids, Courtney. When the medicine's
I know.
concluded, we end with like soup and fruit and a closing prayer. And we get to drink the water that was sitting on the altar during ceremony. Yeah. So that's how it works.
That sounds so beautiful, Suri. We all have to come down to Costa Rica, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But um, I have, because you're my friend, I have heard you sing before.
Oh yeah.
I should have asked you this beforehand. Is there any chance you can say no? I totally won't have my. Is there any chance you'd share like a couple little bars or anything? Because it's so
Yeah.
pretty. Your voice is so beautiful. It would be such a gift if you'd be willing. You can say no. It's okay.
Yeah. I wonder how it will sound coming through the screen, but yes, I would love to. So let's see.
Oh my. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks for
That was
asking.
that was a very heart-opening voice. And you have the voice of an angel, but oh my gosh, it's like I think we all just felt our hearts pop open there. So thank you. Thank you, Siri. Um, my beautiful angel, you've got a special project that you're working on because um, the hostel that you're running in this beautiful space of Costa Rica up in the mountains. It's called, where is it? Harmonia Divinia. Harmonia
Divina. Yeah.
Divinia. Divina. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong.
Mhm.
Harmonia Divina. And people can come to Costa Rica and spend time with you in this location. But
Mhm.
you're also, you've got this special project going because you're trying to make it even more. Yeah, and we're going to share all the links for that. Would you like to describe this for us, your project?
I would love to. For myself, this project feels like the culmination of all my life's work up to this point. I've been a bit of a hummingbird studying child development, energy healing, medicine work, music, um, and so many other random things. But here it all comes together in this incredible marriage. The space, it's a 6-room hostel. So there's 6 rooms for people to stay in. And then in the front, we have a community center and store. And the community center is often used, for example, tonight we have a song circle. So people come and we make music for a couple of hours. We just held a vocal activation workshop yesterday. We have a sound healing coming up at the end of the month. Um, and we do concerts here. One of the people who supports me to run the hostel, he's a master of language. He speaks German, Spanish, and English, and he teaches Spanish and English here because that's something that's definitely really needed to bridge the gap between the local people and a lot of the expats that are moving here, me being one of them. I really need to learn Spanish so that I can um, immerse myself in the already existing culture instead of trying to bring my culture and here in a strong way. So the space itself is, we do yoga here, music, language, and honestly, just general healing because we're right here in the middle of nature. And it's been a beautiful experience having people come through and stay. And almost everyone gets here and they're like, oh, I feel like I'm home. And I'm like, you are. And that's the point. Um, and the project right now, I've created a GoFundMe to raise funds so that we can bring more into the space and also offer scholarships to people, especially the local Tico people, because there's a lot of offerings that we have that with the rates that the average Tico person makes, they can't afford to travel often. They can't afford to take a class. They can't afford to even take a class to learn English, for example. And a lot of them want to. So a lot of the funds are going to go toward getting some yoga props into the space, um, allowing us to run programs that are for the local people that are funded by people like you guys. And also, we need some new spices in the kitchen. That's another thing I really want to get into. So the GoFundMe helps support the hostel itself. If you do choose to donate and you donate $250 or more, then I'm offering a free session with me. Well, a session by donation. But if you donate 250 or more, I would love to offer you a free private session. And then if you donate 500 or more, you can receive a 5-night stay here at the hostel with breakfast and dinner included. So those are kind of some incentives. And if you follow us on Instagram, which is harmoniadivina.love, it's the same as our website. You'll be able to see how the funds that you sent are being used in real time. And I think that that's kind of another beautiful thing and bringing the community together in an incredible way. So that's the project. And we're in San Gerardo, Costa Rica, which is way up in the mountains. Literally, we're like where the road dead ends against the mountain. You can't go any further past where we are. And for that reason, it's actually quite the sanctuary. It's not a high tourist area, which is one of the reasons that I absolutely love it, because you don't make it all the way up this mountain on accident. And so when somebody is here, it's like, we know why you're here. Come on in.
You know I'm gonna make it there, Suri. I know it's calling me. It's calling to. Um, I'm like imagining just the landscape and the flowers and the birds and the space and the energy of it too, and you too. And I know what your healing sessions are like. You are quite magical and quite talented in what you do too. So it's like it's very win-win of being able to receive your expertise and your love and also be helping this labor of love to grow your hostel and then provide the scholarships for people to learn too, and make your community even bigger and brighter than it already is. So well done on that, I have to say. too. So my love, so we can reach you, and I know you've posted some things on your page too, on over on Facebook on Suri Sawyer, too, so people can see what everything looks like. But they also can give you a follow over on Instagram on
Mhm.
harmoniadivinia.love, right? And
Yes.
they can go to the website as well. And your Woman Be Alive website, also, is that how people would contact you for other types of sessions that they wanted to do?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer Rose. So I do
Mhm.
have a website for my personal offerings, and it's called Woman Be Alive. And I hope you guys are catching on that the show is called Die Before You Die, and my business is called Woman Be Alive. I'm trying to take the coals of existence and make them whole. So, yes, if you guys are interested in working with me one-on-one, my website is called womanbealive.com. You can read a little bit more about me and my education, as well as the different offerings that I have. And something that I'd like to announce right now is that until June 1st, I've significantly lowered my prices for anybody who wants to sign up before June 1st. And the offerings that I've lowered essentially to offer you guys here today is one is psychedelic integration. It's prep work and support after a psychedelic journey. So if you've done psychedelics and it's a lot to unpack, you can get that at a really discounted rate right now. And we work together every 2 weeks for 6 months. The other package that I'm offering right now has a lot to do with the death process of life, which is just transformation, change. So, if you right now are currently experiencing something like a separation from a partner, the loss of a loved one, a career change, a move, even new motherhood, right? All of those things, they shatter the pre existing ego. Then you get all of your pure inertia and potential back, but it hasn't reconstructed into anything yet. And that's something that I love to play in with other fellow humans because I personally find that it's really nice to walk with a neutral party during those kinds of transformations. So that's also 6 months, and we meet every 2 weeks for 6 months. And that's all on my website currently under offerings, and you can see the prices and everything. And if you sign up before June 1st, then it's almost half of its normal price right now.
Oh, so that's, yeah, that's a really good opportunity to benefit from too. So, thank you for sharing all of that with us, Suri. You're just one of the most beautiful souls, and I'm so happy that we've become friends. And we've got a couple other shows that we've done in the past. If anyone wants to watch the replays, they're over on the Sacred Spiral Network on her YouTube channel. And we've done the polarity mapping of bringing the two polarities together. That was a really fun show too. And we did the playing in the projection field too. So this is our
Mhm.
third one here together. So it's like we've had a lot of fun so far too. Um, my beautiful angel, what is there any final words that you would like to leave all of us with here before we close our little sacred space of
Yeah.
life and love and
I would like to say thank you so much to you, Jennifer Rose, for the continued support, sisterhood, and friendship over many years now. So thank you so much. And also thank you to Kelly Brickle for holding this ship together. Thank you to all who came and watched. Thank you, Melinda Ann and Courtney and Jennifer McCormick. I really loved watching Jennifer and Melinda and all their many, and Courtney too. It's amazing to see the interactions. And so I just wanted to thank each of you who has been here and will listen in the future for authentically taking the time to receive this information. It really means a lot to me. And the last thing that I would like to say is just like blessings to this human experience. May it be everything that it's meant to be for you, and may it unfold in the most incredible and surprising and delicious ways for every single one of us. And may we each find the peace and harmony within our own sweet beings, that's the only reflection we start seeing in the outer world.
Beautiful, beautiful words. Thank you so much, Suri. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for being my guest on Embracing Infinity once again. Um, Thank you to Ms. Kelly Brickle for taking good care of us, and to all of our friends who have joined us and are viewing and supporting. And I love, again, how supportive you all are. You're always bringing your love and energy. We've created a really beautiful community, and it's that way every week. So it's quite quite a gift and quite a blessing. That's why I love doing what I do here too. Um, Please, everybody, enjoy this holiday weekend full of transformation, full of wonder, full of joy. Some people might be going out with family. Some people might be hunting for little Easter eggs or coloring them with their kids and their families. So it is a time of celebration and joy. And it's kind of what life is all about. So please continue to live well, and love you well. And please let those steps be walked with grace, because they will take you far. It means a lot. I look forward to seeing you next Friday on Embracing Infinity. A happy, healthy weekend to all of you. And we'll see you this afternoon with Spiritually Imperfect. And I'll see you tomorrow on Messages from the Enchanted Realms with medium Shannon Rate and Fran Pierce. We're going to get all magical tomorrow with messages from the angels, the fairies, the dragons. Oh my. So we hope to see you for all of that. Lots of love to everybody. And thank you once again. Bye, everyone. Thank you.